In this video, traders, let's discuss how important is the overnight session. Stay tuned. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. So this was a kind of great question. How important is the overnight session? So what I mean by overnight session is, imagine if you're trading the Dow or the Nasdaq or the S&P 500, any of those kind of regular trading hour products. I suppose you could say from Forex, from like the Asian session to the US session, whatever, or the European session, you could say that. But let's just use that example now. If you're trading Dow, Nasdaq, any of the S&P, Russell, any of those things that are US based, regular trading hours. Ding, bell goes off at, what time is it in Eastern? 9:30, I think UK time. 2:30 UK time, 9:30 Eastern. There's an official open, right? And that's when the stocks start trading properly, the options start trading, money starts flowing. And often the thing with intraday traders who are trading futures or spread betting or CFD product on those markets is, do I need to look at the overnight session, right? Because many people just want to focus at the open because the volatility is greater, the volume is greater, the liquidity is greater, spreads are tight, all this kind of stuff. Fine. There's an opportunity, get it. Whatever operational reason you decide to trade the open, that's understandable. So it's like, okay, well, how much pre-market do I need to do? Do I need to look pre-market? What am I getting from pre-market? Should I even bother? Now, there's two schools of thought. And again, this is my opinion on stuff. And I know that others have a different view. Some people don't even look at pre-market. It doesn't even on their radar. They don't care. They don't look. They're just looking at the open. They strip out pre-market completely and they just see a gap if there's a gap. So if the market closed high, opens lower, they just see it as a gap and they look at regular trading hours. They do not care about pre-market. Fine, that's one way of looking at it, in which case you adjust your charts to suit. If you can't adjust your charts to suit, use one of the ETFs like QQQ for Nasdaq, SPY for S&P 500, and DIA for Dow, IWM for Russell. So that's a kind of easy, clean way to see the price structure. The actual price would be different, but the pattern will be the same. And that will strip out the regular trading hours if you're just putting out on, say, TradingView or one of those platforms and just putting RTH. Now, if you are trading like a CFD product, it's harder to strip that out, right? In TradingView, you kind of just see the whole lot. So operationally, you've got to work out how you want to display this. I mean, that's probably a separate video, how to display that, but you need to make a decision. Do I pay attention to it or do I not? So there's the school of thought if I don't, and there's a school of thought if I do, which I think is the more slightly popular, and the school of thought that I subscribe to or prescribe to is, okay, I want to look at the overnight session, but I'm not going to kind of overanalyze it. There's a few things I want to see. Like I want to see, first of all, what was the high and what was the low? Why? Because the probability of us tagging the overnight session high or low during the regular trading hour session, i.e. after the bell has gone, is very, very high. It's very rare we don't tag one or the other. And so if I'm in a trade and I want to have a target for that initial trade at the open, it's going to be that overnight session high or overnight session low because there's a high probability of us tagging that. So first of all, that's the first thing. I want to have these marked on my chart. I want to say, okay, where are these levels? Because they're going to be key, especially the open. Now, once you've been trading for a while, I think you can start to discard this. We'll get to that more on that in a moment, but especially the opening hour, I want to see those being tagged. The other thing is I want to see the kind of relationship between price and VWAP and what it's been doing. So if the VWAP's been kind of flatlining here and price has been oscillating around it, I'm going to think that the supply demand has been relatively even and structured. There's not been kind of one push one way or the other. We've gone to the low side, found some buyers, gone to the high side, found some sellers, and the VWAP is relatively flat. So I'm looking at that and saying, okay, not much has happened, and also the relative to where it closed. If it's kind of closed here, there's not much of a gap. Fine. So I'm looking at the structure, right? I'm generally looking at the slope of the VWAP, and I'm looking at the extensions away from the VWAP and how it's responded to that. Only because the VWAP is an easy tool to use to kind of see what where the mean is. Now the other thing is, so highs and lows, the range I want to get from that as well. So if I had a big wide range overnight, that's interesting. And also, is anything major happen? Like have we gone massive to the downside and then rallied up? Because that's interesting. Something's happened there that's just sentiment shifted midway through, and that might be something that I need to pay attention to, maybe some news or something like that. So I'm looking at these main things. And the final thing I want to look at is where we open relative to the overnight session range. So if we're opening at the high of the range, I kind of have an idea that people are maybe a little bit more urgent about their buying, a little bit eager, because they're just starting a little bit of pre-market bidding on the futures, and it's just causing a little bit of a bid up. So if we're opening at the high end of the range, we have been low, then I might say, you know what, there might be some overhang of buying pressure. I don't know that for certain, but that might be my idea. And obviously there's lots of other things to consider, but that might be the way I look at it and go, okay, maybe we do get a little bit of a big coming in there. We're opening at the high of the range. We haven't really come back and opened at the VWAP. If we're opening right at the VWAP, I might be like, hey, you know what, I need to see some kind of extension and failure before I even get involved in this. So, these are the type of things I'm looking at. Now, I think that, once the market is opened, then all eyes are on the current high and low. And so, as we open, the bell goes off, there's a lot of interesting info from the overnight session, right? But then as we start to, and maybe you start to tag the levels, maybe you start to, but as you start to place more as more trades start to go through, more volume starts to go through, should I say, and we start to get a kind of regular trading hours VWAP, and we start to get a daily high and a daily low, and then this starts to fade away in value. So the more time we go through this open, so from the bell to here, the less value that has. Because you kind of go, well, there's so much more volume done. There's so much more agreement or disagreement on price in here. And this is the volume here, my great volume chart. It looks like grass, actually, doesn't it, outside in a field? And someone's just chopped that and not chopped that. But that is really volume. And you get a lot more volume at the open because there's a lot more order flow, etc. So that then takes the priority. And then so as we start to go through the trading day, first 30 minutes, 40 minutes, hour, 2 hours, by the time you've had 2 hours worth of trade, the overnight session is almost irrelevant. It's almost irrelevant unless something really interesting and keys happen, there's been a big range and there's a high print or something like this, then it's almost irrelevant. And personally, I'm not going to be looking at it. I'm going to be looking at the low print we've had in the day so far, the high print we've had in the day so far, the structure, the VWAP position, the position in daily chart, all the other stuff that helps me understand whether there's a trade idea generation from that. So how important is the overnight session? It's a personal thing. I think if you're doing okay without it, leave it. It's not like, oh, you must, absolutely must. But I think that if you look at it, there's a few things, don't get overwhelmed by it, but you can look at the range, you can look at the high, low, a high and low. And you can look at the kind of position of the open, look at anything unusual done. You just get a little bit of a feel for it. Then just see how the other price responds at the open and see if the overnight high or low potentially gets tagged or if there's any value there. And then over time, as it starts to trade and regular trading hours session goes along, you can discard that and go, hey, you know what, all the information I need is in this. Everyone's looking at this now. That's become less and less relevant. My take on it, be interested to know your comments. If you're a SPY trader, Q trader, or any trader really that trades any vehicle that has an overnight session, do you look at the overnight session? If so, what do you look at? Is there something particular you like to look at you could not live without? Someone says, listen, I'm taking that away from you. You're like, no, don't do that. That's my absolute one thing I go to. Interested to hear. Take care. Keep your risk managed. Bye-bye.